Hello guys, so for today we are going to talk about the introduction to animation, and the very first um, kumbaga consideration is that you should know how animation works, and with this presentation, here are the 12 principles of animation. So there are two main categories with animation, which is the computer assisted animation and the computer generated animation. So at first, with computer assisted animation, as you can see and as you can observe with its 2D and kumbaga it's like a 2.5D representation. There are processes like inking, using virtual camera, managing data, etc. But um, the very concept of differentiation about 2D and 3D is that in 2D you have to really know how to at least draw, but it doesn't really matter if you're really a good artist or not. But with 3D naman, actually you can alter your 3D models na using a software na. So basically when doing a 3D animation or traditional, of course, traditional animation, 2D animation is that they are doing like really intense drawings, kumbaga numerous drawings na ginagamit na or dinodraw nila para makapag-create ng animation. So the computer generated animation has low level techniques and high level techniques, which is low level is precisely specifying motion, and high level naman is it describes general motion of the behavior. So the low level techniques is that we have the shape interpolation, which is the in-betweening. So that's why if you are familiar with um, 2D animation or 3D animation, yung tinatawag natin na twinning. And ito yung galaw niya in between poses or movements. Kaya siya tinawag na in-betweening. So from one key point to another key point, ano yung mangyayari dun sa in-between na yun. So um, dati ginagamit nila is like hand-drawn talaga. Kaya for an animated film, medyo matagal talaga yung production. But since nagpo-progress at ma-advance yung technology natin, mas nagagawa nila ng paraan kung ano yung magiging yung magiging movement niya in between. Kaya ngayon much better na or mas na-improve na yung pag-animate. The next level naman is the high level techniques, which generate motion with a set of rules or constraints. So these are physically based motion. So kumbaga, these are uh, realistic. Dapat yung movement mo is very realistic in a way that hindi siya mukhang fake pag nag-animate ka. So before we go on with our topics, yung heritage of animation is started during the 1800s, and as you can remember last week nagpa-assignment ako ng Tomatrope, but that was the early 1800s kasi yung sample dito is the Zoetrope, which is the Wheel of Life. So this is I believe meron akong toy nito nung bata ako na parang may pinapaikot lang ako, and then a single character would move pag umikot. So yun yung concept ng Zoetrope. Also, we have the flipbook naman. The flipbook is a very simple um, animation, kumbaga animation inspired during the early days, which is basically a composition of pages na meron tayong drawing tapos fine-flip lang natin to imitate an action. And basically, you would do this then maybe next week or a week after that. So, animation as an art form. So, kung kilala niyo yung character na to, this is Felix the Cat. And nabuhay siya nung 1920s. And it is the first animated character with personality. So, when we say personality kasi, it shows on your animation or it shows onto your drawings. So, there are characters naman na minsan hindi natin nakikita yung personality nila kasi hindi natin ma-portray yung personality na yun sa face nila. Next na nangyari din sa evolution when it comes to animation is nung kay Walt Disney, which is animation as an art form na nabigyan niya ng buhay si Mickey Mouse. So the innovations na nangyari dito is that there has a lot of storyboarding, pencil sketches, multiplane camera stands, and color. Although hindi sila yung pinakaunang gumamit ng color, but yes, nandito yun. As far as I can remember, nung nanonood pa ako ng mga Mickey Mouse dati, although hindi naman ganun ka tagalan, but pinapalabas na rin yung mga black and whites niya. So makikita mo dun yung kung paano siya nag-innovate from a simple mouse to a colored one to a 3D one. So Walt Disney's 12 principles of animation. So during the late 1920s through the 30s, Walt Disney worked to improve the techniques of his studio animators. Disney set up drawing classes for his animators at the Culinary Art Institute of Los Angeles under instruction Don Graham. Through these lessons and interaction between Disney and his staff, a set of 12 principles was developed. So, these principles were used in Disney animated productions including Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. And as far as I can remember, lahat to ay napanood ko as a child during the 90s. Kasi this cartoons kasi yung mga famous noon. So the first one is the squash and stretch. So, living flesh distorts during motion. Kasi katulad na rin ng like a simple ball, nagsistretch siya, nagsisquash. Kumbaga, it imitates a real life scenario kung ano yung makikita mo sa totoong buhay. Exaggerated deformations will emphasize motion and impact. Although wala namang masama kung mag-exaggerate, and that's why natutuwa tayong manood ng mga cartoons. Although objects deform like rubber, they must maintain volume while being squashed and stretched. So it doesn't really mean na pag nag-stretch ka or nag-squash ka ng ball, pagpatak niya is that it's totally flat. No. A bouncing ball with squash or elongated on impact and stretched vertically as it leaves the point of impact. So this is the most well-known and often used principle. Kumbaga, isusunod mo yung you should follow the syempre the laws of gravity, and at the same time with some exaggeration, just like a simple bouncing ball, dapat makita nila yung pag-stretch niya at saka yung pag-deform niya when it hit the ground. Ito yung example. So as you can see, the ball is moving, and once actually from here nga nagiging elongated na siya. Kasi parang nagkakamera ng anticipation na siya ay may tatamaan or something, which in which case pagkatama niya dito nagkamera siya ng contact and na-flat siya, and then naging elongated na ulit siya. So ang mare-register sa brain natin is nag-bounce siya with some squash and stretch, and then go na ulit siya dun sa kanyang original form hanggang sa mag-bounce na ulit siya. Next will be anticipation. Animation can occur before an action. Before you jump, you bend your knees. So by exaggerating this action, the animator can guide the viewer's eyes. The formula for most animation is anticipation, action, and reaction. Kumbaga kaya nagkakameron ng um, kumbaga sa joke is that a punchline, kumbaga nagkakameron anticipation. At the same time, it also applies to animation. Nagkakameron tayo ng paghihintay on a certain point na meron mangyayari sa isang animation. So, ito yung example niya. So, normal and exaggerated pose and then slightly exaggerated pose. So, katulad na lang ng pag-posing nito ni Donald Duck is an anticipation until you hit an action. Next will be staging. Staging is the clear presentation of an idea. The animator can use the camera viewpoint, the framing of the shot, and the position of the characters to create a feeling or strengthen the understanding. So in this case, makikita natin is that staging is from a certain point of an animation, makikita natin kung what is the idea all about. So like this one, this has poor staging, but this one has a good staging. So it means that as you portray your characters, kumbaga, as you present your characters, makita mo yung emotion nila, makita mo yung at least yung facial expression nila. Unlike this one na naka-side view, totally side view, but kung ma-apply natin yung good staging, makikita natin ito. Also, you can show secondary actions like this one. Makikita natin, kumbaga, basically the emotion is also a key. Kasi as you can see dito, no, I am not angry at you. Pero dito is makikita natin na with some facial expression and some movement, makikita natin yung kanyang emotion. Next is straight ahead versus pose to pose. So straight ahead animation means drawing the frames in sequence. This leads to spontaneous motion. It works with abstract animation. But pose to pose naman is the more often used animation technique. It requires the animator to create strong pose or keyframes first and add the in-between frames later. So pose to pose is used for animation that requires good acting, where the poses and timing are all important. And dati ginagawa namin yung um, actually it doesn't really matter, but it's up to you or it's up to your team to plan ahead of time if what are you going to do, kasi minsan there are animators na straight ahead animators sila, drawing agad ng sequence. Meron naman iba na they create poses muna and then in between sa kanila idadagdag yung kanilang motion, kasi at some point minsan meron naman talaga na points wherein an animation is kailangan talagang ma-edit or hindi mo nagustuhan yung point na yon or yung animation keyframe mo na yan. So, like this one. Ayan. So, as you can see, meron tayo ditong pwede natin siyang gawin na as a straight ahead sequence, but we can also use a pose-to-pose animation wherein pwede muna tayong mag-drawing or maggawa ng isang keyframe from one frame at a time, tapos saka na natin lalagyan ng ano pa yung mas appropriate na in-between animation dun sa ating sequence. Next is the follow-through and overlap. So follow-through is the action that follows the main action. It is the opposite of anticipation. So when a baseball bat hits the baseball, it doesn't stop abruptly. A boxer does not freeze at the moment a punch lands. Overlapping action means that all elements do not stop at the same time. So overlapping action also means that a new action may begin before an earlier action is terminated. So meaning it doesn't really end on a certain action. Minsan kinoconsider din ng isang animator kung ano yung mangyayari when it comes to a certain part of an main action. Makikita mo na meron pa siyang gagawin na isa pa. Kumbaga, it's a follow through para at least hindi ganun ka parang not necessarily boring, but hindi ganun ka plain when it comes to, or hindi ganun agad tumitigil yung animation. So just like this one, nung yung rabbit pinunch yung dog, so it doesn't really stop there yung pagkakapunch niya, and meron pa siya ng pose. So this also is an anticipation that you will jump. So here's the action, the settle, and the follow through, kung ano yung magiging pose niya or action niya after that main action. Next is the slow in and slow out, also known as the ease in and ease out. So most motion starts slowly, accelerates, and then slows again before stopping. So that is the main idea, kasi when it comes to in reality, or in movement in reality, minsan it also applies, or it basically um, relates to the real world. So imagine a car that went 40 miles per hour immediately when stepping on the accelerator, and went to zero when hitting the brake. So it really doesn't stop na biglang stop ka agad. So from slow, easing in, tapos hanggang sa mag-ease out, hanggang sa magpreno. So gravity has an effect on slow in and slow out. When a ball bounces, it increases the speed as it gets closer to the ground, and it decreases in the speed at the top of an arch. So pag nagbabounce na ng ball, minsan syempre if gravity is present, mas mabilis siya pagpababa, and babagal siya ng babagal at the same time kasi nagbabounce siya. So in many 3D applications, easing is created by setting the tension of the TCB spline to 1 to get the opposition effect from a keyframe tension is set to -1. So this will apply on a 3D, and basically this will be on your next semester. So this is an example of a stride. The stride speeds up as it goes through the passing position. So this will be a slow out, a pause, and then a slow in. Next is slow in and slow in and slow out. So just like a pendulum, kumbaga ito yung kanyang point of action. Ito yung point of kumbaga ito yung main niya. Tapos we slow out, ease out, and slow in and ease in. Kaya siya nagsuswing, kumbaga in a swinging position. Arcs. So almost all natural motion is in some form of an arc. In 3D animation, a motion arc is usually created using a spline curve. A pivot points often define the arc. Kumbaga ito yung pinagdugtungan, in short. The pivot point for the thigh is the hip, and the pivot point for the calf is the knee. So kumbaga as you progress on the animation, especially if you're going for 3D, kailangan nating ma-anticipate na yung ginagawa nating character animation or character model for a 3D, for example, is alam din natin kung paano siya mag-work, kasi minsan tayo na mismo yung character, kasi alam natin kung saan yung dugtungan, alam natin kung saan yung pivot arm, alam natin kung saan gagalaw yung arcs na yon, kasi at sa point kita natin sa sarili natin. Spline curves, so piecewise, these are the polynomials with smooth connections, and basically if you direct your animation to different set of lines, mas makikita ni animation software yung flow niya, and from there siya yung magka-create ng curve. Next will be secondary actions. So secondary actions are minor actions that occur due to a major action. Most people blink their eyes when they turn their head. Facial expressions are secondary actions para at least hindi magkameron ng stock up. So tinatawag namin yun na parang nagkakameron ng stock up when it comes to for example a two character sequence na minsan ang nangyayari is that yung character yung sasalita, yung isa nakatigil lang. So secondary actions are very important kasi makikita natin yung pagiging dynamic ng animation itself, magkakameron ng fluidity, and also the most important is that continuous yung action niya kahit in a real world parang wala namang talagang ginagawa, pero kung makikita natin pag may kausap tayo hindi naman talaga tayo naka-stop or nakatigil. Means syempre pwedeng lagyan natin yung animation natin, syempre humihinga, nagpapan yung head, or kumukurap. Secondary actions are also actions caused by the impact of another object. The movement of a ball that has been kicked is a secondary action. Ayan. So this is a secondary action. It's like this one. So here the primary action is the run, yung takbo. Drag the floppy hat back in the path of the action to create a secondary action. And kumbaga it really is important para makita na gumagalaw yung hat kasi tumatakbo. So there's a presence of air tsaka motion. So that's why it is important para makita natin na may secondary action yung ating animation. Next is the timing. Timing is the amount of frames between poses. Comedians and actors work with their timing to get the maximum impact from their lines. Timing can imply weight. Light objects have much less resistance and usually move much quicker than heavy objects. Speed can imply emotion too, and a fast walk may mean happiness and a slow walk means depression. So when it comes to timing, just like a simple animation with delay, makita natin kung ano yung pinoportray niya. And with that explanation, makikita natin yung emotion on a certain point na yung timing natin hindi sakto lang, hindi siya magtatagal, hindi siya magmamabilis, depending on the sequence and depending on the scene. Next will be exaggeration. Exaggeration is used to increase the readability of emotions and actions. Dito sa part na to, exaggeration has been present, kumbaga, even before pa. Isang example ko dito is that when I was watching Tom and Jerry, kasi there are a lot of exaggeration in that cartoon kasi yun isa sa mga favorite namin dati. And with that exaggeration, nakikita natin yung pagkakaroon ng fun at saka comedy when it comes to that animation, that cartoon. Pero mapapansin natin with that exaggeration, it's very unrealistic na. Okay? So animation is not a subtle medium. Individual exaggerated poses may look silly as stills but add dramatic impact when viewed for a split second. Animators should be careful to use exaggeration to increase understanding of feeling. Be careful not to over-exaggerate everything, but it doesn't really matter, and minsan it will depend on your animating sequence or yung scene. But when it comes to exaggeration naman, there are rules pa din na sinusunod. So ito yung example ng the triplets of Belleville. So here's a link you can watch, and there with this cartoon kasi there's a lot of exaggeration. Kumbaga dito nagkakameron ng parang wonder ang isang bata na nanonood na totoo kaya yun, bakit ganun yun, kasi that's why they are imitating it in the real world, tapos hindi naman nila magaya. Next is sa solid drawing. In 3D animation, this would be equivalent to solid modeling. To get a maximum feeling from the audience, animated characters must be drawn or modeled precisely. Proper drawing and modeling can reveal the character's weight, character, and emotion. Proper drawing and modeling are needed to give the character proper depth and balance. So with the advancement of technology ngayon, hindi na katulad dati nakapanood ako ng mga movies like ilang years bago gawin kasi they would model the character talaga on clay and uh, kumbaga they would use stop motion editing para kumbaga para lang matapos yung edit nila, and that would require you years of animating that sequence, for example, or that movie. So that's why one of the successful 3D animated movies is yung Toy Story kasi matagal siyang ginawa. And dati napapanood ko pa yung mga gawa pa sa clay, so they would use stop motion, and that would really require skills, unlike yung ngayon na you would syempre you would draw pa din, but with the help now of 2D animation softwares and 3D animation softwares. Ayan. So this one is as an example of solid drawing. So makita natin dito yung different perspective. And the last one is appeal. So animated characters need to have a unique personality and have a wide range of emotions like happiness, excited, fearful, embarrassed, angry, scared, etc. Character flaws are actually a good thing. Audience can be sympathetic to characters that have a flaw or two. So complex personalities and moral ethical dilemmas add to a character appeal. So ito yung mga tinatawag natin na yung parang nararamdaman ng isang character na po-portray nila sa isang animation. Like this one. This one is Bambi. This one is Mickey Mouse. And this one is Cruella de Vil. So parang with proper animation and proper appeal to a certain animation, just like a sample movie, for example, you would watch a movie, merong villain, merong kontrabida, merong bida. Kasi magagalit tayo sa kontrabida kasi napoportray niya ng tama. So parang just like with animation din, parang pag cute yung isang animation, nakikitan tayo, natutuwa tayo. Pag medyo kontrabida, naiinis tayo, parang gano'n. So proper appeal for a certain animation will always help kasi makikita natin yung flexibility ng isang animation pag ganon. So there are actually cartoons naman talaga na nahuhook tayo, and especially during the 90s when I was young, I would watch Nickelodeon like every single day para lang manood ng mga cartoons doon kasi sobrang solid nila. Tapos yung ngayon medyo may napapanood akong cartoons na parang medyo hindi na ganun ka appealing kasi I don't know, medyo parang siguro simple na yung drawings nila. Tapos yung galaw nila normal na lang, hindi katulad dati na talagang pinagtutuunan talaga ng pansin. But nagpo-progress naman yung mga 2D animated sequences ngayon, like yung mga shows ngayon, especially in 3D. So your laboratory task will be a drawing character. So this will be uploaded onto our LMS, and you are going to choose 3 of your favorite cartoon characters and draw them whole body on each white bond paper. So landscape yon, pahiga. Your characters should have 3 perspective view, which is the front, side, and back. The objective of this one is that you're going to familiarize yourself with a single character para magkakameron kayo ng imagination on how it would look like sa side view niya at saka back view niya. Para at least hindi lang lagi yung front. Kasi when it comes to animation, you would consider all the angles. But like what I've said, 2D and 3D is different. Kumbaga, when it comes to 2D, pag natakluban ng body mo yung hand na yon, wala na yon habang lumalakad. Kasi nasa background na yon, which is kasi the idea is 2D. But when it comes to 3D, nan kung matakpan lang siya, nandun pa rin siya. Kaya minsan mas mahirap talaga mag-model ng isang 3D character. But for now, you would draw muna at saka gusto kong makita yung drawing abilities ninyo kasi although hindi ko naman sinasabi na I'm a good artist, but you would draw or you should draw at three three characters. It's either your favorite one, it's either from movie, TV, or series. Tapos i-drawing nyo siya on a single white bond paper. So your output should be 3 character drawings on 3 bond paper na pwede nyo i-scan para mas maganda if you have a scanner. If you don't have a scanner, okay lang. Or just take a proportion and properly scaled photo using your camera phone na lang. Mas maganda yan. Mas madali, I mean. Pero if you're going to use your phone, I would suggest you download Office Lens. Kasi with proper lighting, with proper angle, mas parang scanner na rin siya ng inyong telepono, ng inyong mga smartphones. The file names for your 3 JPEG, since siya ay magiging picture, pag sinend nyo sa akin, is section underscore name of character underscore your last name, that JPEG. And you would submit that sa ating LMS. Okay?